True, not a shot of pressure. Anyways, if you don't get the reference, I'm sorry. It's Ted here with some stuff here. I just wanted to throw up a quick video because interesting stuff is happening. I think, at least to me, it is. I don't know. I'm just looking at the trifecta in Forex. I don't have anything spicy or juicy for crypto, other than I heard or I saw that Coinbase is going to be delisting XRP. So all the funds that I did have in XRP, I did transfer them to a different coin. But it's a sad day, I guess, for that kind of news to be had. I just don't. I mean, like I said, I did that episode. I can kind of see where, or kind of seeing XRP or Ripple anyway, as this as a security, but I just don't see it. I think it's I think it's a currency. They may have shot themselves in the foot, like I said, with having that. Not being able to be mined and going after institutions, but maybe we'll get into some crypto later. What I wanted to get into right now actually was the trifecta, GU, EU, EG, and the dollar. So first, actually, I don't know why I'm here first. First, I want to do is take a look at the dollar. So here is the dollar, and what I drew earlier was this, and it's kind of, when I was at work today, it actually still kept it. I'm surprised. But here you had 3 touches, right? And then it looks like it went a little bit above it, so it may have gone into that liquidity pool since then. I didn't notice that. Because I guess I stopped watching, probably usually about after 10 or 11, I stopped paying attention to Forex. Just because it's when it slows down, things aren't, it's after the London close. And if anything, I'll put in a trade right at the end of that if I think it's going to go the opposite direction. And I did, and I should have held it. Instead, I said I take profit, and it already hit that take profit, and it's still going. And but oh well. But that was on EU. I put a buy in on EU, but we'll get to that in just a second. But first, I see the dollar touching this 3 times, and I was like, okay, so this is a clear indication that it's going to go above it. And since then, it did go above it. So I guess I honestly haven't sat down and looked at these charts since I drew this. I was just looking at my MT4 on my phone, and noticing that ever since, you had the break, the shutdown for a little bit to where, the new day starts. We had a huge gap down, right? And then it continues going downward. My thoughts are, it's reaching for something, right? So I'm guessing liquidity, maybe it's thinking liquidity's down here, but before it gets there, I think it's going to pull back and close this gap. My first thought before this was it's going to pull back, close this gap, get above these highs, and then go down. But now I wouldn't say it's really far away from that. I mean, it's been a couple hours since then, but the dollar can really, anything can happen in the market, to be honest. But we are on the 15-minute. If we get down to the 5-minute, let's see. I think I drew this line for a reason, and I think it's because there is a kind of like, it's like the bottom of the bearish order block or bullish order block area. It hit that line exactly just now, and decided to go the opposite direction. Let me see here. So, yes. I was checking out something else on MT4. Uh, but I don't know. It looks like it doesn't know what it wants to do right now with the dollar. But it looks like there's more bearish movement in this price action here than there is bullish. It did create creating a new high tells you one thing. It tells you that it does have a tendency to want to go higher. But then again, it's the dollar. The dollar's just been tanking. Not really been tanking. If we look at the 1 hour, it did have that low, on the 17th. And then it hasn't really came back to that low, surprisingly. I'm really surprised it hasn't came back to that low since mid-month. It even almost made a new high, or actually came above this, but it's still staying in this range. Now, if we look at this in a larger perspective of things, I think I probably made a video about this as well. We talk about in the grand scheme of things of the market maker buy sell model. What did it do? It came down and hit halfway through about this whole order block area here. Now I do have all these lines that you see cutting through the current DXY are important levels, and that's why I think we're getting reactions off of those levels. That's why I said it whenever it came down and hit that whichever level it is at right now, 90. Let's see if we can't even 90.9. 90.096, something like that. So we are down in here. Wow, it must be dropping pretty quick. Let me go take another look at that. Or at least I feel like it's dropping pretty quick. Actually, a lot of these levels are up here. I've already went through it, so we're still down around that closer to halfway mark of that order block. But like I said, if we want to take a broader look at it, draw a box over it or something like that. Let me move this a little bit so I can see a little bit better. We want to throw a little rectangle over this area, and say a market maker buy sell model. We have that zone, and then you kind of have this zone here, right? So then let's take a look at it on the daily, as you can probably get those actually closer together if we get them on the daily. Yep. So as you can see, came through, hit about halfway through, right? Then bounced back up, and now we're still staying in this kind of zone. So my thoughts are eventually that it's going to try, even though it only hit halfway, that's a good sign of a rebound. Because generally you don't want things to go any more than 50% of a retrace. If they, well, not necessarily. It's like, I forgot where I learned this from, but generally if it goes 50% retrace, it'll stay on that side, right? So if we get a 50% retrace of this order block area here or less than that, more than likely it has, kind of a tendency to want to stay on this side. It's not going to drop down this side until we actually breach that support zone. So that's what I'm waiting on, to breach that support zone, and then what it's going to do is it's probably going to try to reach for down here. I don't think it's going to go exactly right underneath it and then cause another little box something like this. I don't think it's going to do something like that. Instead, it's probably going to reach a little bit farther and do something like that. That's what the market maker, buy sell model would suggest. As you can see here, it reached, but here there's consolidation. Here there's consolidation. It reached, but over here there's consolidation. So different areas of the map, I guess you could say, there's consolidation and distribution. So now let's take a look at this. Actually, I want to get rid of that box that I just created because I don't like the green everywhere. And let's see what it's doing. Because like I said, my initial thought was it's going to try to pull back, close that gap, right? And then eventually go above this area. But since it's already been above this area, I'm not for sure if that's the case. Yeah, it's still wanting to reach further. So the thing here is, my thing with this is that looking at GU, is it going to be reaching to try to break this high, or is it going to hit a consolidation area, right, and then turn around? That's what I am thinking is going to happen with GU. GU has seen more of a potential to try to want to go lower. I was watching it whenever it made its move today. I was looking to see if it was going to try to go, if it was wanting to reach upwards or downwards, and then I did the magic drawing, where you try to find what smart money or what ICT teaches. You find the biggest, not the biggest, but you try to find a good area to where it would drop, move, something like that. And then find the bottom, find the retracement around 75%, 80%, and then that's when I saw this, and I saw that, and I said, yep, it's going to drop. Because I was looking at it the other way too, and it was kind of coming up here, and I was like, if it comes back down, I was like, is it gonna, and it did. It came back down. Let me get rid of this since we're getting too many conflicting lines in here. But then I also saw it broke the daily low, right? Once it came down and broke the daily low, that's when I was like, okay. I was like, I don't think it's going to have a chance to want to try to make a new high. It already broke the daily low. It's probably going to come back and make more low it up. At the same time, I was thinking, well, it already broke the daily low. Now its new thing is it's probably going to try to break a new high. So I was conflicting with what my thoughts were to do. And actually, I was going back and forth and scalping this, selling and buying in this area. Which is fine with me. I ended up with like 45 pips today. I know it's not a whole lot to some people, but when you're consistent, that's what matters. And I feel like I'm more consistent now than I am what I have been. But once I finally made the decision that it broke its low, it's probably going to drop. It came up here. I did sell and I held on to it until it got to I want to say right around this area. But I hit the sell at 68. And then I hit the take profit around here. I should have held a little bit longer because I didn't get that many pips out of it. Not as many as I wanted to anyway. Let me just measure that really quick because it was right around here-ish. Like I said. So it was more like around 35, I want to say. And then buying and selling around here got me the extra 10. It was about 2 or 3 more that I was getting like 2 or 3 extra pips on. But then I got a couple from Euro USD too, so I may have ended up with around 50 pips today. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to tally everything up, but it was somewhere around there. And then I noticed that when it dropped down to the 162, right? So once it got to the 162, I wasn't sure if it was going to keep going. But I was looking at my areas over to the left and saying, these are the areas I was talking about last night. Remember, I was saying because it was up here last night whenever I did my video, and I was saying, okay, I was like, you have these equal lows here, these equal lows here. If it is going to drop, it's going to drop below both of those equal lows. And sure enough, it hit the area I was talking about. Remember, I was talking about this area right here. I was thinking it probably could come down to this area and this be the order block or the breaker. I was like, or this one could be the order block or the breaker. And it ended up being a little bit even further than that. Actually, ended up being more like the top of this was the more like the order block that it came to, which that would have been my last resort, just because it is the further southest, I guess you could say, the furthermost south. It looks like if I had to put a buy limit on that, I would have missed it. But once it did get down to this area, I thought, okay, it's probably going to end up going the other way. I think I ended up scalping this too, but it was also Euro USD that happened at the very end of the day, to where I did put a buy limit, or I put a buy on it, and it was below here. And then I think I put my take profit. It was like 22220 or something like that, because I thought it was probably going to get up to possibly about here, and there'd be an order block in here, and then it turn around. That not being the case, so I ended up getting about 8 pips out of here somewhere. But now this is continuing to reach. So I'm looking at all 3 of these. Okay, so now it just reached, it broke this high, right? It's turning around. GBP came up. It's looking like it hit an order block, right? There it is, right there. Oh, come on. Put the magnet on it and everything goes crazy. Computer's being a little slow. Not too bad, but there we go. Now it's starting to drop, which is telling me that the DXY is starting to go up now. Looks like that is the case. I knew it was reaching for this. I didn't think it would make a new low. Because you had the 3 touches here at 90.369. I mean, it was exactly 90.369 right here, or 59 maybe. 93.69, 93.69, and then right here 93.69. So it's all 3 touches exactly 93.69. That told me liquidity right above that. So now we're seeing it turn around. I think it's going to fill this gap. I think it's going to get higher. And we may probably see it hit, well, let me think. Did these hit an order block in here? I think that's why I drew this line right here. Yep, that was a 5-minute order block. And there's also a 5-minute order block in here. So that one didn't affect it. So we could see, I don't know. I don't know. It should, I mean, and these are all about equal highs too. I'm thinking it is going to be gravitating toward this area. right? Trying to take out these highs. Maybe possibly get tangled up in this before it starts dropping. If that is the case, we should see, and I think with GBP having these equal lows here, GBP has the most likely candidate, especially now that since it just hit an order block as well, or a breaker. This is more like a breaker. It is going to be falling. And where would it be going to? I'm going to say right here, probably around this 1.33270 area. Maybe even lower just because it is a daily low. So we have the daily low just before that. And then I think it may stop just before breaking the second daily low. But then again, right below that, you do have that this is imbalance right here, and then you have an order block. So we could see that is a large drop, though. It could take a while for GBP to get down there, but I think GBP is going to start making its way down there. But I think the euro is going to be doing something quite a little bit opposite. I think it will drop. What I think the euro is going to do is get below this level here, but not break these daily lows. Right? I think it's going to break below here, not get below those daily lows, hit those order blocks in here, and then continue to go upwards here. So would look. And the reason I personally think that is if we were to, let's just go ahead and, oops, not a fan of the Ganvan. Didn't. Wrong way. No, there we go. All right, so the reason I think it's probably going to get below that, again, a little bit around the 80%-ish mark. And then there is a bearish order, kind of an order blockish. It does have a little bit of a wick on it that I don't like to see. But there is some volume into it right in that area. Looks like it already came down to it and then reversed. But I don't think it's going to break this low, because I think if the dollar is going to push up, right, and try to break those highs, this is eventually going to break down, but I don't think it's going to break any lows. I really don't think it's going to break any lows. I think the euro is still trying to push up higher. And until it gets back up to, those other highs that it hit a few weeks ago, or I think when was it, 17th? Yeah, same time. I think until it hits those, and it's gonna break that eventually, we won't see another pullback. Or at least another pullback that's going to break another low, I should say, a significant low. So a daily low maybe. So I think it could pull back once the DXY. All right, let's take a look at it, see what it's doing. Sorry if I'm all over the place, guys. I'm really just trying to figure out what's going on here. Who knows? It could just be heading straight down, but I mean, 95% of all gaps fill, right? So I don't see why this one would be any different. It may just happen in the middle of the night. It may not be happening just yet. let's take a look at it from an hourly angle. How about that? So I think I have this drawn because this was a gap, or not a gap, but an imbalance. Looks like that has been filled. Looks like it is at the bottom of it, of the previous imbalance. Waking up, and just so you guys know, it is 10:12 p.m. That would be Central Standard Time, or UTC 6 time zone. I'm on the Chicago time zone, even though I'm not in Chicago, but I am in Illinois. But I'm nowhere near Chicago. Now, for 1 second, if you don't mind. Nectar of the gods. All right. So, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. That's just what I think. We will have to wait and see how this plays out. Where is... There it is. Path. So, if anything, what I think could possibly happen with GBP... I personally think it's going to start happening soon, because, like I said, it did already hit that order block, but it could possibly get as far as here before we start seeing a good drop again. And if it does drop again, I'm definitely thinking it's going to get below the previous daily low that we had. That I've marked here at 133.474. It's going to get below that, and if we hit the double extension of the trade today, right, the same trade that caused it to get down to the the 162, and I'm using my I'm using the bodies of the candles, right? I'm not using any wicks. I'm using the body of this very last push down. I could have pulled it up a little bit higher, I guess, to get to encompass this body here on that push down. I guess that would have made more sense, because that's when it does hit the exact 162. I find the last body right here that just breaks that previous low. It pulls back. It pulls back almost to that 79%, definitely into that 70.5. That's what I love to see. And boom, as soon as I saw a drop, I just knew it was going to go, and it did. And I mean, that was a big move today. That was, like I said, I wish I would have held on to that, because I forgot how many pips. Like I said, 40 something out of this one, I want to say, or 30 something out of it, and it was a full about over 100 pips. About 102 pip move if I'd have held on to it. But I got about a third of it, so can't complain. Hey, pips are pips, right? So that being said, I don't think it's going to pull up into the same area. That's why I think we should be looking at this right here. And then let me put the little magic back on it, and then pulling it back down here. Right, I think that's probably the lowest. Oh no, the lower body is actually right in this area. Right, so right now, I mean, it's exactly at the 0.668 or 0.618, 0.62, whatever you want to do. It's right in that area. So that's why, I mean, it could pull up a little bit more. I mean, again, around the 80% usually is when you see most of the reactions happen. At least the best ones. If you're going to see a big drop, it's going to happen probably about the 80% retracement. and then continue on dropping down until it gets below that daily, the previous day's low. It's just acting stronger that way. Euro, instead, what I think it'll do, it'll drop as well, right? But it's gonna drop until right about here-ish, until this one's 70.5, right? I think that's the reason why I think it's gonna get below this. Maybe not below this one, maybe not below this low. Definitely not below the previous daily low. Maybe right in here. Maybe it'll drop below this, because there are some equal lows in there, right? So we take a look a little bit closer at this apparatus here. You kind of do have, kind of hung around there for a little bit, and it made those equal lows. So this looks like a good solid support, right? People would think this would be a good solid support area, even though previously it just did have a big spike through it. Doesn't matter. People see the things like this and they think this is support. So instead, probably gonna go right through it, right? You'll probably see it hit somewhere around right through here. I'm gonna say below the 22025 area. Anywhere below that to the, I don't know, 21820 area, somewhere in between there. And then we should see a retracement back up and then toward new highs. So what I am planning on doing is selling soon in GU. I'm not gonna sell. See, I'm going with my bias. So my bias has been for GU to be bearish. I'm not gonna buy, right? So I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna try to wait for a good spot to sell, which I should sell right now. EU, I'm gonna wait for a good spot to buy. I'm not gonna sell. I'm not gonna wait for this thing to, if they're thinking this thing's gonna fall, or sell to my area. I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I'd rather find a good area to buy because I think this is going to go up. All of that being said, what's going to happen with EG? Like I said, I think this is going to be a green week for EG, so I'm going to find, and so far it did go up today. So if you watched my video yesterday, these are my two things I said. I said I thought EU was going to have a green week. I thought GU was going to have a sideways week. And then I thought EG was going to be going up. So far, I am correct. And that's what you got to do. I probably should have started my video off this way. How do you try to gauge Forex in a correct manner? The way I have been taught has been to find out what your weekly bias is, right? Start with your weekly bias. Is your candle going to be red? Is it going to be green? How do you know? Well, you find out the draw on liquidity, right? So if we were to go to EU, right, and we were to go to a week, right? Let's go with our weekly candles. And we look at last week. Last week was down, right? But it was only down because the previous week it hit the order block and it pulled back. So now that it pulled back, liquidity is still resting above that, right? It's still going to be reaching for these liquidity draws. So even though it pulled back, it's still going to be trying to reach for those higher areas. So that's why I think EU is going to be still on the rise. I'm just waiting for a pullback so I can buy. GU is the exact opposite of what EU did last week. Instead, GU hit its high last week, right? And now it's pulling back. It's gonna have the week to where it's sideways and does its pullback. And so, what does that mean for EG? That means EG is gonna go up because the euro is gonna go up. GU is gonna go sideways or down. EG is gonna go up. Right, so that is my analysis on the trifecta. I'm just waiting for a good eye, to be honest. If we're going to talk about EG, EG sometimes it just baffles me because it just has a mind of its own. But if I were to, try to figure out something what to do with EG, I would say here. And the reason I say there is because that is the area to where it does, even though it doesn't really look, you have this big push up, right? And it pulls back. This is probably a good 60% pullback, but it pulls back just enough to where it balances out, to where it rests on top of this. Some people would say support. I would call it your breaker. Just rests on top of that breaker right there. Goes sideways. Now it does have this push up, but as it's pushing up, it's also pulling back at the same time. And then it gets a little bit above, and then it pushes down a little bit harder. So there it is. It rebalances. So there is your rebalance point. So that's why I'm picking this as the bottom. And of course, finding a top. So I wouldn't be using that as a top, considering that is a wick. That is probably your large, well, you got a little bit bigger body over here. Taller body, I guess you'd say. So, wouldn't make that much of a difference anyway. Where he's going to pull back to anywhere between 61.8 and 79%. See, I don't see this as a liquidity area. I don't see equal lows or anything like that. And that's why I think that's a good area, is because this is just kind of a straight up area, except for this. This right here does kind of scare me. I wouldn't say scare me, but does kind of resemble kind of like an equal lows-ish area, to where you do, where you could kind of see this as a support area right here. Also because it's also on top of this right here, right? So I could kind of see this, but then again, that would mean that GU or GU would definitely have to take on a lot of the force. But I think GU is probably gonna, or at least maybe EU is probably gonna fall faster first, and then GU is gonna follow. So that's why EU is going to come down and then come back up. And if we were to look at that and we were to put this on the 618 or this 62% area, it falls exactly. It looks like it falls exactly right on a candle. So what usually happens when I pick these areas. Yep, it's that last down candle. The very last big push is right there. And it's right. It looks like it's already come up and bounced off it once. So make it a little bit lower. It could be in the push into like this area here or something like that. But that's what I would be looking for, anywhere in between 9.0525 and 9.0425. So that's not a big area, to be honest. So interesting to me anyway. Yeah, that's only about a 10 pip area. 10 pip area for but who knows? That's just my thoughts. That's my thoughts on that. All right, let's head on over and let's check on something else, shall we? Let's see what else we got going. Let's check out what happened with Bitcoin today, right? Why not? Right? We got some time. I think we're only at about 40 minutes. Hope you guys haven't gotten bored yet. I haven't told any dad jokes or anything. Should want me to tell some dad jokes? Tell some dad jokes. Uh, Actually, I really don't think I know any dad jokes. If anything, I just make some stupid stuff off my head and just call it a dad joke. All right, so 2 days ago, or yes, it was yesterday. Yesterday, yes. It was yesterday. It was actually in the middle of the night. It made that high, I want to say. Um, Almost, what was it, 28,000? Over 28,000. Do you guys think that's the high? You guys think that's the high? You think it's gonna come tumbling down? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, yeah, I try to put this in the same kind of correlation as I would with the dollar. Like, I remember the dollar, the last time the dollar was this low, when Bitcoin was this high, right? So, except for the dollar got a lot lower, Bitcoin didn't get nearly this much high. So, Bitcoin has definitely gained value, of course, if it's definitely getting this much higher. But the question is, if the dollar starts gaining value back, is Bitcoin going to start dropping? We see it in a sideways consolidation right now. It's interesting because we haven't seen that in quite some time. If it does get consolidation, when it did that, well, yeah, it did that for a couple days, I guess, last time before it took off. 17th, whenever the dollar hit its low, right? Bitcoin made that high, 23, and then continued on. And here, honestly, this is when I thought was the start of the fall. Was when it broke that 24 mark. It made that high, and then it made that other high, because I sold right here and watched it get down below here, and I actually got out below this area here, and I was good. I was all good, and I just waited to see what was going to happen next, and now, if we were to look for that same kind of pattern, right? This being your highs, right? This little guy down here. If I can get it, there we go. Alright, sorry, I'm just making sure everything is snapped into place. There we go. Make sure we got it on the bodies and not the wicks. Like bodies and wicks. Hello, there was my dad joke. Okay. And we see it retrace after that. Alright, it does hit the 618 of the fib. Pulls back down. Right, now in smart money, again, you look for those last big push downs before they go back up, because those are your order block areas, right? So you see all these consecutive red candles down, right? There's one big order block down. That's what that is. So once it gets above that, I'm waiting for it to come back to that area, and then I would actually place a buy, because for one, you have this low here, right? It pulls back up. You have this low area. It doesn't get below that second low, right? It doesn't get below this one. It stays higher. It pushes into this order block, and it doesn't get any lower. So this tells you its willingness that it's wanting to go higher. Still, Bitcoin is wanting to go higher still. So look, if you draw the line from that last 5-minute red candle on over, and it pulls up, it pushes down, it hits right on top of that last red candle, and then pushes off. That is what's called mitigation. So anybody who had enough money to sell off a bunch of Bitcoin to try to push it down to get into a better position, that way they could buy a bunch more up, right? If they were holding a sell on their CFD trade, right, they can afford to go in the red, right, this much, and then wait for it to come back down, right, and then release that sell and then buy. That way, that's just how it works. They sell off a lot of their equity to where it pushes it down. At the same time, they're also putting in a sell in the CFD too, because both of those can have an effect on price. Then they place the buy, they make the money on the buy, they let go, then they let it come down, or they press it down again. Either or, sell a bunch off, or sell some off at the very top, watch other people sell it off until it reaches that point that they had it at before. They release their sells, they buy, right? And then they could actually release, if they could be in profit at the same time, if they had a sell up in here, take that profit, take a buy and do the same thing all over again. Wait for it to come back down into that same area, right? Once it gets back down to that same area, they release their sell, and then they buy again, right? And they just keep doing it, and it just keeps going back and forth in between those areas, basically. So, but now we're seeing it come back down again. If that makes any sense, I hope it does. But that's how smart money was taught to me, basically. They buy to sell and they sell to buy. Buy to sell and sell to buy. They can sell because they have the money to. They sell it off to get into a better position to buy. And then once they buy, they look for that position that they sold to, or wherever they can let go of. And then once they make their profit, they wait for it to either retrace back toward that area, or they just sell back to the area to where they were previously. And that's how they continue to make money. That's how institutions work. That's how big banks work. And if you think Bitcoin isn't controlled by somebody that has a lot more money than you, you are sadly mistaken, because there are countries that own most of Bitcoin, so they can push it whichever direction they want to. If, people say it's not manipulated. Well, you know what? I mean, maybe it doesn't have like the same kind of manipulation that the Fed does, but it can still be manipulated depending on how who owns how much of it. So they can just sell and buy as much as they want, and it's going to control the price, basically. So what's it going to do now? At least it still hasn't made any new lows. So I would say, I don't know. To be honest, it's still in a sideways consolidation. It hasn't broke, on this 27. To be honest, I am personally waiting. I need to put equity. If I'm going to put any kind of equity in Bitcoin, I'm going to wait for it to drop down to about 18. That's where I think it's going to drop to. Me personally, I think it's going to drop to 18 sometime. And maybe not in the near future, but at some time it will drop to 18, and that's when I will probably put as much money as I can into it, or at least some money into it. Everything I say here is opinion and not financial advice. So I'm just giving you my opinion on what I think. But it doesn't look like much is happening. But like I said, we did have the delisting of XRP, or we had the announcement of the delisting of XRP on Coinbase. I think Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the last. Looks like that's when the news came. 4:30. Sounds about right, because that's when my friend sent me the message. Boom, there it went. It just we are back down to the same levels that we were in April, something like that, probably 22 cents, 22.75. So XRP had a good run, but looks like the show may be over for XRP. See, now what I thought was going to happen, I mean, if, like I said, especially when I made that video, I said, there are things that can happen that can cause the price to drop. I said, and if it gets delisted from, some kind of exchange, I would say that would be one thing that would take the price and make it drop to a level I didn't think it would. But like I said, I thought it would drop below here. That's why I still have this here. That would drop below here, right, and then continue up, and then probably get around 48 cents before we started a retracement. But then we had the delisting of it today, and then that just dropped it out completely. So now your XRP is down to 22.2270, right? And not for sure if XRP is going to have much of a run. We're gonna have to wait and see what's gonna happen with it on what the SEC says. All right, I do want to check out Ethereum. Ethereum had a good high today. Almost reached 800, or almost reached 750. Highest it's been in a long time. There was somebody who told me a while ago that said it was going towards 700, and it was at 500 or something then, which was just a couple days ago. Yeah, like 2 days ago, Ethereum was in the 500s. It just decided to shoot right through the 600s into the 700s, and looks like it's probably going to stay that way. It looks like Ethereum did come down, bounce off. It looks like it rebalanced itself. So if we're talking smart money wise, right, what did Ethereum do? Right, came up, and then maybe I should get rid of a lot of these because these are probably old. Oh, jeez, come on now. I don't even know. All right, there we go. So, Ethereum, this is probably a good, one of those 70% retracements or so. Let's see if we can. Make sure I put it on. Oops, make sure I put it on the body here. Low body. High body. Comes back. Oh, right at 62. So right at 62% retracement, and then it decides to continue on. So, and then right at that 62% retracement, there is one red candle. Don't know if you noticed this or not. There it is. So there's that mitigation. So whoever was pushing it down, trying to sell it to get a better position in the long, released it once it came back down into that red position, right? So boom, they released their sell so that they could buy, and that's generally what happens whenever you see that. Especially whenever you see it retrace to these positions anywhere between 1.8 and 0.79, is you'll see a red candle somewhere in those areas. And it's because it's just where the mitigation happens. So now where are we at? Let's see what kind of extension it got to. I mean, it got to 127%. Has not got to 162% yet on that trade. So now if I were to reset these, right, which I do want to do, and those were pretty kind of flat bottom candles right through here, right? And we want to go to right there. It's at, oh Jesus, come on now. There we go. I'm gonna make sure I didn't screw up anything over here because I feel like I did. Yeah, it is on the wicks. There we go. Now it's on the bodies. All right. So look at that. Boom. 0.75 exactly. 0.70, 0.5. Sorry, I'm not even making sense. 0.705 or 70.5% retracement. Nails it exactly. Right? That's why I have this here, because I don't know how many times I've seen it do this. It pulls back and it nails that 70.5% retracement. It'd be 0.687 or 687.73. What is that low? That low is 688. So it is not even 25 cents above that. So it's, I mean, we'd have to stretch it out just to even see that there is a gap right there. All right, so and this is why we say to enter in at the, if you're gonna, pull one of these and try to find this type of trade, right? This is what I always look for. If you think your bias is up, you wait for that retracement. You wait for the rebalance. Once it rebalances, you use that as your low, or you use the low as the the move that goes down and then up really quickly. That's why I use this one first, right? This one came down to the 618, the 61.8, and that's where you enter the trade. Enter the trade at 618%, or 61.8%. And then generally you put your stop loss below the 100. If it gets below that, generally more than likely what's going to happen is going to continue going lower. But generally, what I like to do is I personally like to put in a small lot, a very small one at the 618, and then I'll put a larger one right around the 70.5, or generally about the 72. 72 it generally gives me right at with the spread and everything is right at about the 70.5. So I'll try to nail it perfectly with a larger lot size. But I'll also put in a smaller risk. So I'll usually give it to about the 82 and exit there. If it goes through that, I'm SOL. I want to try to catch it in that pocket. If I don't, it goes through it. Oh well. If not, then I still have a lot that's going still going to go north, and hopefully that I can recoup recoup that loss with. That's just my strategy that I try to do. I try not to tell it to people, but oops, you caught me. But I think Ethereum is on its way up. Litecoin, I think, is another one that to watch out for. Again, hasn't made a lower low since this, right? It looks like it's on its way down, but it looks like it hit and maybe some order block that was in this little spike here or here already. Or it could be this right here. That is the order block still extending across. Yep. Comes down, hits that order block. Now it's probably on its way back up. I think all of the retracing cryptos are probably at a good time to buy right now. Last, I want to take a look at Dash as well. Dash has been fluctuating between about 98 and 112. And it kind of looks like Litecoin, to be honest. It looks like you have order block right here, or a breaker, run straight across, boom, boom, hits both of them. Think Dash could be buying pretty soon. Or just wait to see. If you should. Well, it's actually fairly low. I wouldn't want to. I'd get in now, and then if it for a CFD trade, and then if it got below the current low, jump out. Because then once it tries to come back up, it's gonna hit that or hit one of these, and then continue to go south. So that's why I think with this bounce right here, that's a good positive bounce. And I think if it comes back down, it'll do the same. So could come back down, have another positive bounce, and then start bouncing its way back up. So why not? Let's take a look at EUR. EUR is kind of like the alien of the group. Just because I have no idea what's ever going on with EUR. It just kind of has a really weird mind of its own. It looks like it's on its way down. See, you had this. All right, broke that high. This is probably that 75-60% area. $70.5, almost to the T. Let me see if I can't get it on a high. Come on now. I see the high and it's just not wanting to do it. I'm on the hour, so I'm using the wicks for this. But look, right at, I mean, it's there every single time. 70.5 retracement every time, every single time. You can't make this up. High 28.880, and 70.5 is 28.910. So again, you have to get really, really, really close in just to see that there's a gap there. And there is a little bit of a gap there. Not much, but there is a gap there. But you wouldn't know it from looking at it like this, you know. But what is EUR doing now? That is a good question. It looks like it's, I mean, I do see equal highs here. So this tells me liquidity rests above here. Looks like it's going to be a buy soon. Right, and it may have made a short-term low, right? But it would have to get below this for me to really start wondering about it. It looks like it is going on the up this last hour. Without breaking another low that happened 2 hours ago. So I'm going to say EUR's on the up. Sorry if it looks like I'm looking all weird. It's because honestly, the camera is right in the way of my screen because I want to look at the camera, right? While I'm looking at the, you guys. Makes it look like I'm looking at you guys while I'm actually looking at, the charts. So I put the camera right in front of my screen so I can look at the chart. But it's okay. I got a really big screen, so it's okay. What it do? It pulled back to the 62%. So probably not exactly. Looks like a little bit of a gap there, but still close enough to where you should probably try to enter a trade going north on that. I would. What happens if you miss something like that? Well, to be honest, usually, especially if you're looking at this and you see there's two equal highs, I would enter it. Wait, especially if it's a trade, enter it and wait till it got above the high and get out. Because once it gets above this, it could grab that liquidity and then try to pull it back down. So as soon as it gets above those highs, exit the trade. Looks like it would probably it looks like there's some more highs here, almost equal highs. So you have two sets. So you have boom, then it's probably gonna go, and then it's there it is. There is the bearish order block. So there it is, that candle that goes up and then down really quick. See that? Green candle here. Whoop, spikes up and goes whoom, down really quick. There's your displacement. That's your displacement candle. That's your imbalance, right? You have equal highs, liquidity, leading up to the imbalance, right? Leading up to the bearish order block. So this is definitely going to be going up until it hits this, which would be 26195.96, and that is on the Binance, right? Once it hits that level, I would expect a retrace, but now would be a good time to get into EUR, especially if you're looking for about a $5,000, about a $4,000, $4,000 or $5,000 increase on your earnings. All right, and catch me tomorrow. I'll definitely be saying that if this doesn't happen, you can shoot me in the foot. How about that? Okay, definitely called something similar for XRP. Definitely be calling the same thing for EUR. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. We are going to save that as personal analysis, and we are going to get load chart layout and then open that back up. That way it does save. This is one thing I've learned to try to save it. So there we go. There's some EUR. Anyways, that's all I'm going to do for crypto tonight. Let's check back to the 3, right? Okay, it looks like the dollar is still hovering around that area. Let's see what's happened to good old GBP. Looks like it tried to go lower. But GBP is still not wanting to. Let's see. I think it's still having. It's still, yeah, wanting to go lower. You can definitely see it's wanting to. Had that little bit of a high that pulled back, came back up, didn't break the high. I think it's wanting to go lower. Euro. Still climbing. Broke the high. Had the high, made the pullback. Looks like it broke that small high it had already. Or did it make equal highs? Let's see. What's the high here? 1.22429, 22429, 22428, 22427. Okay, so we have equal highs. What does that mean? Liquidity. So here you have liquidity draw. So especially if the dollar starts to go up, which I am expecting it. This is scenario perfect right now. Scenario perfecto. I'm expecting GBP to drop. I'm expecting this to retrace. It may not get below, especially in, well, I don't know. It may not get below this, but it could. I still think it will. I still think it'll get below this, right? But it may not. I mean, we may have to look at it in a different light. Let's actually say that it's going to be, I mean, if you, this was your big up down push, right? This came down, it rebalanced, kind of rebalanced. So let's just say this is your, get out of my way. Let's just say this is it, and this is the top. All right, let's forget about the spike it made before. I know I'm looking in right in close to you guys. Sorry. All right. So then, if it were to retrace back, you would be looking at it hitting this, this consolidation zone it made at the end of the trading day today. So. Or at the end of London and then into, the new day, before it started making its way up. So you would be looking at, I would say, pulling the trigger around, at least I would, if I'm going to looking at it from this way, 1.22125. Anywhere between there and 1.22040, somewhere in between there is where I'd be pulling the trigger to be going back north. Even though it broke this high right here, doesn't mean it's not wanting to break this high. It's wanting to break this high. It's trying to, right? Look, there's another high right there with it. It's not like it's unheard of to try to break these highs. Come on, stop it. There we go. So boom, there's that high, there's that high. It'll retrace. I mean, that just looks too obvious though, doesn't it? Just looks too obvious that it would retrace right back to here and then go up. That's why I think it's gonna pull back a little bit further. And then go up. But I don't think it's going to break the low from the previous low. It may break yesterday's low, right, which was this. Or actually, no, was this? Yes, this was yesterday's low, wasn't it? No, this is the 24th. So the 27th low was right here. I don't think it's going to break I don't think it's going to break 27th low. 28th low right here. It could break, okay, so it could break the 28th low, so that'd be Monday's low. I think it could break that, but I don't think it's going to break any other low. Right, could break that, hit that area, that would be rebalanced, and then it's still trying to pull its way up into this area here. All right, that's enough. I have talked too much. I'm way over my time. Nobody's going to watch an hour and 15 minutes of me talking about this crap, so I'm just going to stop now. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night. And, oh, yeah, don't forget to... it's going to look a little bit different now, but, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do all that cool stuff if you want to hear more from me in the future. and see my analysis. Thank you for watching, and have a great night. And always remember to wear your pants.
Any advice or information on this website is general advice only. It does not take into account your personal circumstances. Please do not trade or invest based solely on this information. By viewing any material or using the information within this site, you agree that it is general education material and you will not hold any person or entity responsible for loss or damages resulting from the content or general advice provided here by Bodies and Wicks, its employees, directors, or fellow members. Futures, options, and spot currency trading have large potential rewards, but also large potential risk. You must be aware of the risk and be willing to accept them in order to invest in the futures and options markets, as well as Forex. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. This website is neither a solicitation nor an offer to buy, sell, trade futures, spot Forex, CFDs, options, or other financial products. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profits or losses similar to those discussed in any material on this website. The past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results.